Welcome to Elevate Your Life and Soul. I'm your host, Marla Kennedy, life coach, mama, and spiritual soul seeker. Each week, this podcast will bring you interviews, stories, and mentoring so you can truly know your value, know your worth, and elevate all areas of your life. Let's rise together. Hi, Hailey. Thank you so much for being here today. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me today.
Oh, you're welcome. It's great. I'm glad we finally got to chat. And before we jump in, I'd love to know, how do you start your day?
How do I start my day? That is a good question. So I start my day with journaling usually after I do all my basics and I, get um, my makeup on and my workout outfit on and I make my yerba mate and all that. I like to journal. And what I journal usually are my goals in present tense for the year. I also like to do some kind of prompt. So whatever's on my mind, like sometimes I'll go through different phases. Like right now, my 3 questions are how can I improve today or what can I do better today?
Mm-hmm.
Um, what are the top 3 priorities for today? And then there's usually one around like how will I make my day easier? Like how
Yeah,
will
it's
I make
amazing.
my certain goals easier? And I always write down my basics as well every day to reinforce the habit, meaning like I have certain things that I like to do consistently. Um, so I remind myself of what those are.
Oh, beautiful. I love that. I'm big on habits and like really consciously building habits and stuff and committing to them. So I love that you do that every day. That's beautiful. And what compelled you to become a coach?
Yeah, so I started in coaching in 2010, and what got me into it was I was growing up. I had always been into performing. I'd always been into, I loved, like, I was never the kind of person who, like, even though I was a performer, I loved one on one hangouts and one on one
Mhm.
interaction. So I originally found that health was my gateway into coaching. I was really enjoying fitness programs. I started to transition my lifestyle because at the time I was really unhealthy. And I started to really enjoy health and want to learn more about it, became super passionate about it. So I actually started out as a health coach. And the reason why I transitioned into marketing and business coaching over that 10-year period, right around the halfway-ish mark, was because the certification programs with the health coaching programs didn't really teach me business, didn't teach me how to run my business. And so after college, I majored in entrepreneurship because I was trying to figure out this whole business thing for myself because I wanted to keep coaching and not have to stop doing that, right? So I studied entrepreneurship. I learned everything I could. I did internships. I studied from mentors. I got programs, etc. And then after college, I worked at wellness startups in business development and marketing to get more experience. And that is what caused me to transition. And I realized I actually liked the business and marketing better. And I wanted to, if I really wanted to make the world a healthier and happier place, I wanted to help the health coaches and the life coaches actually keep their job, keep doing what they're doing. So that's what triggered me to switch and do what I'm doing today, which is helping health and life coaches grow their business, get consistent clients, and make their impact without having to quit like many of
Mm.
them do because they don't know the business side.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. And so, I mean, I guess you've addressed this a bit, but what's your like mission? Like, if you were going to
Mhm.
really get into the nuts of that?
Yeah. I mean, I think my mission throughout time has changed, but currently I love helping my clients, like turning them, they are different people by the time they're done working with me. They become business owners and they become impact makers and they become confident in their message and helping others and seeing themselves as somebody who can serve and can charge for their coaching and things like that. Because so I think my mission is to really help coaches become business owners and transition their mindset and their skill set to being able to do that.
Mm. And what hurdles have you personally faced, and how did you overcome them?
Oh yeah, I've had a lot of hurdles along the way for sure. One of them being when I did work at a wellness startup in particular, one of them, they were going through, I got the job and it was a super exciting opportunity because I was going to get to do a lot of different things and wear a lot of different hats and learn from the best in a very short period of time. But at the same time, that was super stressful because it was a fast paced business. There was a million different things going on at once. I had moved across the country for this job. I was working overtime quite often. I was trying to there was a huge learning curve for me because I had to figure out how to do new things like overnight and they were due the next day. So I was just trying to figure it all out and be a good employee. And I was living in a new place and I had a roommate who, I found out later wasn't being super honest with me about our rent prices and things like that. And so what happened through that was I dropped my coaching on the side because originally I was still coaching on the side while working and being in school and all that stuff. So I put that on hold. I was giving my all. I had just been told I was potentially going to be promoted. And then all of a sudden, the entire team got let go. And it was super unexpected. And meanwhile, I also, to move out from the roommate situation, had just signed a new 1-year lease. So I was going to be stuck there and I had to decide, what do I want to do? Because I'm originally from Chicago and this was in LA. And I was like, do I want to be around my family and my friends at this time? And do I want to coach full time or do I want to get another job at a startup? And all these things were happening. And I was just like at this turning point. And my biggest regret at that time was letting my side hustle or my passion go. I wasn't doing it. I let it just fizzle out. And so what changed for me at that point was I realized the scariest thing, or one of the scariest things that can happen to us, had already happened to me at a young age, and I was going to have to get through it. And so I was like, nothing's really that safe. So why not try to do my own thing? Why not try to pursue entrepreneurship? And I don't have a family at this time in my life, meaning I don't have kids. I'm not married. I didn't have anything tying me down or anything like that. And so I figured, you know what? I'm just going to pursue this. I'm going to try to figure it out. I'm going to use all the stuff that I've learned. And from there, I did end up shifting into my business full time. Now, it's not to say that was smooth sailing the entire time right away. It was not an overnight success. But it was the turning point for me. So that was one of my biggest hurdles, I would say.
Yeah, and that's such a great lesson, to go through that and experience that, to come out on the other side and stuff. So yeah, that's really amazing.
Thank you.
Sorry, my son just knocking on the door.
That's okay.
Yeah. So what makes you feel inspired or like your best self?
I love that question because I think as coaches, we have to be inspired. We have to fill up our cups in order to serve our clients. So what makes me feel inspired would be a few things. Number one, I love like all the universe stuff. So I love Abraham. I love Abraham Hicks. I love, in addition to that kind of stuff, I love personal development of any kind. I soak it up. So I love books that are about personal development. I love Jim Rohn. I love all the classic people in that field. I love, Tony Robbins, all the greats. And also what inspires me is music. I love music. I actually sing in a cover band on the weekends. So that's a lot of fun. Yeah, we do weddings and all that kind of stuff. So So yeah, I would say just continuously improving. Um, I also just love reflection. Like, I think it's important to, sometimes we get so caught up in the day-to-day things, and we can lose our inspiration because we're not looking at how far we've come. We just feel like we're in the hamster, on the hamster wheel. So I really like sometimes to just like reflect and track my goals, or like, I'm a big person who likes to reflect and see, wow, like, let's celebrate my wins, or like, look at how far we've come, or that kind of thing.
Yeah, I really enjoy doing that sort of stuff too, and just going inward and like coming back to the present of where you are and looking. Because I
Mm-hmm.
mean, like, I know from my experience, like looking back, looking back from where my life was even just a year ago, it's like dramatically changed so much, and it's constantly
Yeah,
evolving. And um, in a way, it's like if you don't reflect on that, then what's the point? Like, I mean, because you've got to have that gratitude and that like be in the moment, because that's in all we have in life as well. Um,
totally.
and how can you build a strong mindset?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a very good question, because I think a lot of when, especially in my world where I'm working with a lot of entrepreneurs and they're getting rejected, or they're facing fears, or they have limiting beliefs about money, or, they're stuck to procrastination habits or things like that. I would say mindset comes down to a few things. First is, anytime you want to change your mindset, it's important to understand that there's what the life coach school calls the model. And what that means is, we have circumstances which are simply facts. Like, we don't need to attach any emotion to them. They're just facts. Like, I'm 5'2", or it's summer right now. It's 7:00 p.m., right? And so there's circumstances. Then we have our thoughts about those circumstances. So, for example, going back to the 5'2" example, I might think, oh, that's too short, or that's not attractive, or whatever, right? So we have our thoughts about it. Then we have our feelings about those thoughts. So my feelings might be, well, I'm a loser because I'm 5'2", or I look bad in certain things because I'm 5'2", or whatever. Weird example, but I'm going to go with it. Then we have, after our emotions, we have our actions. Those drive our actions. So maybe because I feel short and ugly, I don't raise my hand in a meeting, or I don't pitch myself to go speak in front of a group of people, or something like that. And then our actions drive our results. So my results are, I'm unsuccessful in my business because I can't pitch myself, because I feel ugly, because I'm short, or something, right? So as you can see, this whole chain drives our life. And the key is to show yourself new evidence in the thoughts category to change everything else. So, for example, if you think you cannot do something, look around and ask yourself what else is true, because somebody else has been able to do what you want to do. Maybe there's a group you could join of people who've done that, and you can be in a mastermind, or you can get coached, or whatever, by somebody who's done that, right? And so I think there's a lot of it's just like, what we focus on, what we give our attention to grows.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the key is to catch yourself early enough, to the point where you're not carrying a humongous, heavy sled of thoughts with you every day while you're trying to take action towards your goals, because that's just going to weigh you down. It's going to drain your energy, and you're not going to be showing up from a good place.
And would you say, so when you're looking at those goals and looking at evidence of what other people are doing, looking at
Mhm.
the small, like breaking it down into the small steps that they've done and starting there rather than looking at the whole overarching thing, or what
Yeah.
would you say?
Yeah, I think starting really small, and asking yourself, what are the small wins I can start building,
Mm,
and being somebody committed to the process just as much as you're committed to getting the result. Like, for
mm,
example, if an unhappy journey will lead to unhappy results. If you just hate, like, how often have we heard stories about people who just like hustle, 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 compromise their entire family life, like get divorced, etc., for this business. And then they get to the goal that they thought they'd be happy at. And then they're like empty inside and they're just like, don't have anyone to celebrate with. Right. It's such a
Yeah,
common
totally.
thing. So I think the key with mindset and like breaking things down and all of that is, number one, define, like be really, develop clarity. Like, what does balance mean to you? What are you willing and not willing to do on your journey? What are you willing to feel on your journey? And I hope most people, the reason why they don't get very far is because they're not willing to look at their icky, dirty beliefs. They're not willing to feel discomfort. They're not willing to get their feelings hurt by getting rejected. They don't ever want to feel those things. And the worst thing that can happen on your journey is just a feeling. That's it, right? Or you can die, but
Yeah.
that's about it, right?
Yeah.
So I think the key is to open yourself up to all that, define what's important to you, define your values, define your boundaries, and then start breaking down the goal in little macro, little micro pieces and get started on that.
Yeah, I love that. I really love that. And that, yeah, I'm big on incremental steps and little commitments and stuff and building on them, because I think it sets you up for success, because when you achieve that little thing, you can like celebrate that and go, wow, I did that. So you can move on to the next thing. Whereas for me, like going towards like a big goal and then like reaching for it, not necessarily hitting it, or a
Right.
big commitment, it's it it can like bring you down, but yeah, it is. I totally resonate as well with the facing your discomfort and moving through that, because there's
Mhm.
always so much reward on the other side. And big energy shifts can happen when you face those fears and face that harder, more challenging stuff.
Totally. And I think with the choices too, like the things you were saying about how the small wins add up, I think sometimes people, because they are small steps and they don't feel monumental, they get really defeated and discouraged very, very quickly. And they're not like, they think they need to make giant jumps and they fall for this all or nothing trap. And
Yeah.
I think that that's the worst case, because as everybody knows, it doesn't work. The
Mm,
all or nothing thing does not work. So I think it's important to start practicing keeping the promises you make to yourself. And in
yeah.
order to do that, you got to start small. So I think you brought up a really good point. And then the last thing I'm going to say about all that you were saying about like big goals or small goals and that kind of thing is, one of the things that like Abraham Hicks talks about and is big in the whole manifesting thing is like, everything we want is because we think that we will feel better in the having of it.
Mm,
So you have to think about, why do I want the big goal that I want? What are the feelings that would bring to me? And then on a small scale today, how can I start feeling those feelings? Because that's what's you being a vibrational match, if we're going to get all weird, right? It's really what's important to manifest. So if you want to feel rich and abundant and accomplished and joyful and purpose driven, and you'd feel that when you reached X goal, today you can start feeling those feelings right now by what you put on your calendar today, and by what you decide to do and the choices you make. So I think that that's another key point.
yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up, because that is, yeah, really, really valuable. And what's your go-to daily mindset practice that you can't live without?
Yes, I would say it's the journaling, and I also think it's important to constantly be paying attention to the media and putting myself in front of. So two things, like one, if anybody listening struggles with consistency, struggles with journaling, needs some prompts, that kind of thing, I would go to haileyrowe.com/consistency. It's HAILEYROWE.com/consistency. And I have a free consistency planner that will help you get started.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say it's a journaling for me, getting consistent with that. And then I love going on walks and I love not paying attention to things that make me feel bad. Which a
Mm,
lot of people would be like, well, okay, and I'm not talking about like not addressing things that like I will never be the kind of person who says you're just going to love every step of the journey in your business, or you're just going to love every step of the journey on your health journey. Like you're not. You're going to have days you don't feel like it. You're going to have days that you're afraid, etc. But I think as far as like media goes and the thoughts you choose to think about all that is where it's important to get yourself listening to positive things, listening to positive audio, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And how could someone shift their thoughts when it seems like everything's against them? Like maybe it's finance, like they've got all these bills stacking up, or, something like that. What could they do?
Yeah. So if you have a lot of thoughts that are drowning you a little bit when it comes to a certain topic, there's a few things that you can do. Number one is there's a few options. Number one, shift your focus to another area of your life that is good. So you're just not continuing to dwell on the negative. And again, that shifts your frequency and like your focus. The second thing you could do is like meditate or just do something to completely release the resistance. And then the third thing you could do instead is if you have a ton of thoughts that are like, I hate my life, I hate my finances, whatever, start to, do the life coach school's model exercise, like write down the thoughts and kind of go through that. They have a training on that on their website, I think. But also, what I would do is start to write down little tiny thoughts that start to build momentum in a neutral place. So in other words, like instead of like, let's say, let's go to body image, for example. Instead of saying going from I hate my body to I love my body, go to somewhere that's like, I have a body. This is my body. This is what my body looks like. Like that's very neutral, and you're not trying to fake something, but you're going to a more neutral place that's less resistance, and you're not like getting all worked up about it, because we add so much mental drama to every situation. And especially like, so look at the actual facts. Like there's facts with your finances. How much is in your bank account? How much you have due on your credit card, etc. All of that is neutral. That's just facts. You're adding all these thoughts about how I'll never be able to do it, I'll never, like whatever, and you're justifying your limiting beliefs instead of, why don't you start fighting for what you want, and why don't you trying to figure out how you can change the facts and what's the next puzzle piece to fix it, right? So I think it's up to us where we choose to shift our energy. And I think sometimes we get so caught up in the mental drama that we feel too far gone, like we're too far there. And so in that situation, that's when I would like do the focus wheel, where you're like trying to write different thoughts that are shifting you to more neutral place, or meditate, or anything like that.
Yeah, thanks. That's really great and really useful. I have found, I think, you see all these people saying to like say affirmations and stuff, and sometimes they're so far removed, and it's like that little step thing. They're just rather than big steps, it's too much, because there's too much distance between where you're actually at and where you want to be. So yeah, just adding a little bit like that, that's really, really useful, really helpful.
Yeah, and there's like a quote that says, or I don't know if I'm going to say it right, but it's like, your pain is inevitable. Like we are all going to have pain in our life. Someone's going to die that we love, or we're going to physically hurt ourselves, or, there's just going to be pain, right? But suffering is optional. Like adding all of the mental drama to that is our choice. And it's not just like we might choose to allow ourselves to feel sad, and that's okay. But like suffering, like taking it to the extreme and not ever letting ourselves move through it, or like adding a ton of resistance to it is our choice.
Yeah, and it is such a choice, and you need, if you want to live like a happy life, like it's like, yeah, it's really important to feel emotions, and I'm really big on feeling emotions, but you have to move through it. At some point, you have to come out the other side. So I totally agree. And what what does it truly take to be an entrepreneur?
I love that question. I think that there are, it depends on what kind of entrepreneur, but I think it takes patience mainly. And I think that that's the thing, that's the biggest reason why certain people don't do it or don't succeed. And I also think, okay, so I think it's a few things. I think it's patience. I think it's, you have to actually like it, because if you don't like it, you're not gonna, it's like if you were doing a marathon and you just hate running, like, why would you do that to yourself?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you have to actually like the hustle. Like, I like the
Yeah.
process of seeing something go from nothing to something to
Mm.
growing, and like, it pays off. Like, my work pays off, and it's very rewarding to me. So I think you do have to have a passion there a little bit. Um, and as far as what it takes too, I think it takes mindset work. It's really like a personal development course because you have
Yeah,
to
it
be
is.
able to face develop rejection. You have to be able to be really mentally strong every day and show up with the same enthusiasm, even if the results aren't showing up yet, because there's that period where you're building up and it might take some time. So I think that's what it takes.
Yeah, and sometimes, it can feel disheartening at times, but also I truly believe that your currently where you're at is a reflection of the past. It's got to catch up to where you're at
Yeah.
to like move forward. So um you could have like be doing all this really amazing stuff, but because before you were in this real like not in that same place, like moving, when you're in your business, like it's more slow, and it's not an overnight thing, which I think so many people expect it to happen immediately, and
Hmm.
it just doesn't. All the overnight successes have like worked for 10 years to get
Yeah,
there, and you just haven't seen that.
totally. And I think you have to be willing to drop your sense of entitlement, like,
Mm,
because you have to give a lot of value up front
mm,
before it pays off. And I think a lot of people show up thinking, well, I want to be paid for my work right away. And, if it's not working, it's not working, and there's something wrong, right? But I
mm,
think it's important to bring the person who leads with value wins, and the person who quickly can implement things consistently wins as well.
definitely. um and what are you curious about right now?
Ooh, I like this question.
Mhm,
I haven't thought about that much. I well, actually, I'm obsessed with marketing, sales, like the psychology behind that.
mhm,
And I just think it's interesting, and I have a very healthy mindset about business. I think a lot of people have an unhealthy mindset. They think it's slimy, or they think they have to be like salesy. I disagree. I think it's serving. I think it's making your impact. I think that the more able you're able to grow your business, the more able you're going to be able to give back. So I just love that kind of stuff. So I'm always curious about new marketing things, and I'm reading a book called This is Marketing right now by Seth Godin. And then as far as what else I'm curious about, um, you know, I love the universe kind of stuff.
mhm,
I'm always learning about that. I'd like to learn about, I don't know. I'm always learning. I'm learning investing and like trading right now, which is kind of a drag, but it's very interesting. So I
mm,
don't know. I kind of dabble around, but I just think a lot of things are interesting. It's hard for me to just not constantly be trying to learn things.
mhm. And I know you just mentioned a book, but what's your favorite book and
Mhm.
why?
Oh, I have so many. I love, so as far as like a philosophical or foundational root belief I have because of a book I read, I would say The Zen and Art of Happiness taught me or allowed me to choose to believe that everything that happens to me is the best possible thing that could have happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it just basically teaches you to, like, even if you can't see it right now and it doesn't make sense right now, essentially it was the best possible thing, a best possible outcome. So it's kind of like a Buddhist book, but I really liked that. And as far as other books that I've loved, man, I love the 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. I just think he's a little rough, I'll be honest. I don't agree with everything he says, but he's just a go-getter, and I love that. I love Jim Rohn, anything with Jim Rohn. But yeah, I would say those are my top ones.
Awesome. And okay, room, desk, or car, which would you clean first?
Room, desk, or car? I need to clean my car and my room. Oh, shoot. Okay, I would say my room first, actually.
Yeah. And what profession other than your own would you love to attempt?
I think what I would be doing is probably doing tribute shows, meaning
Okay.
like for a certain artist, I would just focus on them and study them and like try to dance,
Yeah.
try to learn dancing. I think
Yeah.
I'd be more of an artist. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And on a scale of 1 to 10, how weird are you?
Oh, well, it depends on how you define weird.
Mm.
I would say I'm a 10
Yeah.
because I have always felt like a little bit, I'll be honest, like just like I don't fit in that much because I'm super old soul.
Mm.
I've always been like that. I love time alone. I never get lonely. I've never been bored. So I would say I'm pretty weird, 10.
Mm-hmm. And what do you wish, like on your journey, what do you wish you'd known when you started out?
I wish, oh, there's so many things, but I wish I would have known like how the thoughts become things thing, that whole
Mhm.
concept. I wish I would have known that as like a kid.
Mm.
And I also wish I would have known. I had to learn the hard way to take care of my health because I was just like super lazy and felt tired and uncomfortable. I didn't go through any like big health scares or anything like that, but I think
Mm.
health is wealth. Health is wealth. And
Yeah.
I think also to not to well, there's a whole bunch of business things I wish I would have known, like don't spend a lot of money on a website before you have a sales page, before you have a landing page, and before you've booked clients and stuff like that. But that will take 2 hours to talk about. But so yeah, and the third thing I think is don't compare yourself to others and just be you, because um, when we compare ourselves to others, all it means is we just see something in them that we want or we want to see in ourselves. And we can go create that for ourselves instead of comparing or getting jealous or feeling like there's not enough to go around.
Mm. And what would you say to that, like fresh, like young version of yourself?
hmm I would say start listening to podcasts because they're really helpful.
Mm.
I would say it's never too early to start
Mm-hmm.
on your dreams, on making mistakes, on learning. And I would say it's okay to like what you like and define your own version of balance. And you don't have to follow the traditional life path of like go to school, get a job, get married, have kids, do this, do that, etc.
Mm. And what would you do differently?
um what would I do differently? When, like growing up, or
Or yeah, or in your bus like early business journey, or um,
yeah. Oh, okay. Well, on my business journey, I would have gotten less certifications
yeah.
because honestly, I would have rather saved that money and invested it in my actual business, because nobody's ever asked about my certifications, and they
Mm.
care about your story. They care about what you've been able to do for yourself. They care about your client results, but the accolades, they don't really care about.
Mm. Um, and if you could remove all barriers and constraints, what would you work on and want to be known for?
If I could remove all barriers and constraints, what would I want to be known for? I would want to be known for somebody who helps people see that they can create whatever they want, essentially, with structure, with work, with their thoughts. And so in the way that I'm living that out right now is by helping coaches do that for themselves, and do like blow their own minds, like do things they didn't think they could do. And that society's like, well, you can't make money as a coach, or you can't do that full time. So I like to prove that you can do anything you put your mind to.
And what's the best compliment you ever received?
Man, these are deep. The best compliment. I think, I don't know. I think probably when I read what my clients write to me, and also like my sister writes me nice notes sometimes, I think just makes me happy that they see that I care about them, and that through my work that I do, like even if it's not personally to them, like with my online work, that it's still making an impact. It's nice to know that. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's one thing your work's done for a client you didn't expect?
One thing my work has done, I think, well, I didn't, it's not that I didn't expect it, it's that I did expect it. And it's just making money in their coaching business and being able to help more people, and doing it consistently. That's the best thing in the world, because that's what they want, and that's what we do.
And so what does elevating your life and soul mean to you?
I think it means constantly progressing, being happy where you are, but expanding always.
Yeah. Okay. So before I get you to share how people can connect with you, I have one last question, and that is there anything that you wish that I'd asked that I didn't?
No, honestly, I think you covered some really good questions. And I loved it.
Right. Yeah, me too. It's been amazing. So, I think, everyone listening will get so much value. So I'm really grateful. And I'd love you to share how people can get in touch with you, what you have on offer right now.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I have a few places you can get in touch with me. The first thing I would suggest is, if you have mindset blocks, if you want to grow your online business, I would go to haileyrowe.com/strategy-call, and you can book a free intro chat. And on that call, we can go through one block you're having and give you a laser focused solution in 15 to 20 minutes. So if you go to haileyrowe.com, haileyrowe.com/strategy-call, that'd be great. And then the other places you can get in touch with me, as I mentioned before, I think your audience, because they're into mindset, would really love the consistency challenge. So that's available at haileyrowe.com/consistency. And then the last place is the Health Coach Nation Facebook group, because in there I'm live, I'm sharing tips. It's a lot of fun. It's very supportive. You don't have to be a health coach to join, but you do have to have the goal of improving yourself and potentially starting a business. And so that's facebook.com/group/Health Coach Nation. And then I have the Health Coach Nation podcast as well. So you can find that on iTunes, Spotify, all the good places.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And I'll put all
Thank
these
you.
details for everyone. So yeah, I've really enjoyed this, and I hope you have an amazing day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you so much for listening to today's show. If you like it, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you love this episode, please give it an honest review on iTunes and let me know what you loved and what you want more of. Your feedback helps me truly elevate the show into something that really serves you and allows me to keep pouring my heart and soul into it. This is for you. let's rise together. And remember, know your value, know your worth. I love you, beautiful soul.